Hello, and welcome to the Schmidt List, the podcast for people dedicated to managing successful projects, developing impactful products, and building engaged teams. And now, here's your host, Kurt Schmidt.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's show, episode 21. I'm excited for this week. We've got a great guest, Mark Jensen, Director of Product Management at Epicor Software. Today, Mark and I are going to talk about what it means to be a great product manager and why sometimes product is referred to as the sales prevention department. I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did. And without further ado, here's my conversation with Mark. Stick around after the show for some news and announcements. Mark, thanks for joining me on the show today. I appreciate you stopping by.
Hey, my pleasure, Kurt.
Yeah. So tell me about your background and how you ended up in product management and what you're doing these days.
Well, interesting story because I'm a person who stumbled into product management and got involved in technology. Going to college, did not want to be involved in technology, did everything that I could to not take the computer classes. And then I got into a business. At that time, it was all programming. It was just not what I wanted to do. Got into a business applications class and was like, this is wonderful. I love this. So started off with a company called Great Plains Software up in Fargo, North Dakota, technical support. And then moved into training, and then from there started as I was in training, started learning about these functions of product management, product marketing. That led to taking a course with Steve Johnson at Pragmatic Marketing and learning a little bit more about product management, and really caught my interest in terms of the role and how it allows you to be able to be an influencer across a company, to be able to touch just about every aspect, every organization within a company, and really start, drive some really fun things in terms of product strategy, new market opportunities. So that's what appealed to me. And I've been involved with product management, focused mostly on ERP and CRM applications for over 20 years now.
And so you're currently at Epicor, is that correct?
I'm at Epicor Software, Director of Product Management for Distribution.
Okay. And so what's your day-to-day like there? Is it a lot of meetings? Is it reviewing data? Like what is your day like?
Yeah, a little bit of both. A lot of meetings and data review, business models, working with the people on my team in terms of business models that they might be working on or new market opportunities. But also, getting involved in some process stuff. So from time to time, we've got to take a look at how are we running our beta programs and where do we make improvements in those types of things. And then also quite a bit of time spent with customers. There is that saying within product management that nothing worthwhile ever happens in the office, and that is absolutely true. So making sure that we're taking the time to get out into the market and talk with customers and be in their offices to learn more about how the product is being used and where we need to improve.
Great. And so tell me some of the ways that you are engaging your customers. What are some of the ways that you found to be the most successful in getting that feedback that you need so desperately to make the right decisions?
Yeah, it's very timely that you asked that because I've been doing quite a bit of evangelism with our customer base in terms of what we're doing. About a quarter ago, 3 to 4 months ago, set up what I call just a rhythm of customer communication for our team. It was something that was missing, wasn't as strong as it needed to be. And a number of different ways that we do that. I mentioned on-site visits, and we want to make sure that we have at least 10 hours a month of customer contact. That can be on-site visits, that can be phone calls, but it's got to be some way, and whether it's face-to-face or it's over the phone, but it's got to be that type of connection that we're making with our customers. The other thing that I noticed that we didn't have is that one of the product lines I'm responsible for was doing focus groups, but we weren't consistent with that across all of the product lines. So focus groups being things that are really in bringing together the technical users, the end users of the product, and finding out some of the bits and the bytes, if you will, in terms of where we need to make improvements. And the other thing is at a strategic level, having customer advisory boards and bringing the principals, the executive level members of our customers' organizations in and talking about market trends, industry trends, strategic initiatives that they're working on, and then how does our product, our services support them to be able to grow their business. So we have those. We do an annual product survey. So we are also reaching out and getting the feedback that way. And then one of the other things, too, that I started to do were customer calls on a quarterly basis. So we're doing a webcast each quarter with each of the products to communicate, and this is more of a one-to-many type of a venue, but it does give us feedback. We've got some time for Q&A, but it's just us communicating to the customers, here's where we're at with our strategy, these are the latest things that we're working on, and we get a chance to be able to share with them as well some of the stuff that's still in development,
and roadmaps,
but also even some screenshots to say, hey, we're working on this. What do you think? Provide us your feedback, and if you can't right now, then please drop us a note, give us a call. So we're doing that, and then in terms of an indirect, another thing that we have started is to start to talk with on a monthly basis our professional services teams, our support teams, and our system engineers. Yeah, and getting feedback through all of those channels on how well we're doing and where we need to improve.
That's good. And so how are you balancing quantitative versus qualitative data when it comes to getting that feedback? I mean, you mentioned going out and talking to users. I'm guessing there's all sorts of approaches. There's just questionnaires, surveys, there's just conversation, right? But how are you balancing capturing all of that data and then being able to synthesize it for the team to be able to make decisions? How do you best find that balance?
Well, and that's still something I still am finding as a challenge, and we're working through that because some of the things that I mentioned are new, so we've just implemented those. But we are also making sure that as we're having the customer contacts, that we've got a customer report that gets written up. Here's what we talked about. This is what we learned. This is what we heard from the customers. When we do a focus group, some aspect of that is qualitative, some is quantitative. So we're also making sure that when we have quantitative activities in a focus group, like we're going to show you a mock-up. Now, take just a short little survey and give us some feedback after that mock-up to tell us what you thought about it, so that we capture data that way. And then through all of that, we're just making sure that we meet on a quarterly basis to bring together, okay, here's all of the activities that have happened. This is all of the findings that we've had out of that. Let's have a quarterly report that just says, against our roadmap, here's where we are at. Here's where we think that we need to make changes and adjustments. And then bringing that back to our executive team within the product group to make those recommendations for either for changes or, we need to keep moving down the path that we're moving down.
That's interesting.
And here's the reason why.
Let's say I'm a project manager or developer, designer, or just somebody in a different role, but I'm interested in product management, right? The role you're describing is a lot of different hats. You're touching a lot of different data points. I'm guessing half the time you have to be sort of a process manager, but then sometimes you're even almost an account manager when you're talking to the customers, but then also kind of a project manager when you're talking about roadmaps and plans and things like that for the future. So if you were to give some advice to somebody who's maybe in technology but wants to move into that product management role, where would you want them? Where would you expect them to start? Where would you give them advice on what to do?
They need to take a look at themselves first and say, for me, for my career, but just in terms of my own skill set and my strengths, how strong am I in being able to influence people? And how comfortable am I to be on top of the bullet train, but I'm not driving the bullet train? And actually, I'm not only on top of the bullet train. Actually, probably the better picture might be that I'm strapped to the front of the bullet train. I'm not driving it. And by the way, it's not on tracks. It's just a free floating. It can go any direction that bullet train would like to go. But
it's like Willy Wonka's elevator.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And you're strapped to the outside, and somebody else is directing the way that it should go, and it travels 140 miles an hour. So if you're comfortable with that, that's one thing I think that people need to ask. And then in that type of an environment, moving very fast and very fluid environment, your ability to be able to influence people and help to change the direction that that the product is going to go. So there's that aspect to it. Very strong communication skills have to come into this role, and then very strong, you touched on it, very strong project management skills as well. That's one of the things that I look for in a product manager, because they are going to have to keep a number of plates going, manage multiple products all at one time. And again, they might not be that direct project manager per se, but they, again, have to influence people. So for myself, I came out of a technical support and a training background, so I had really strong product knowledge, and that's where you've got to start. If you don't have strong product knowledge, you've got to get that first. But then along with that, you also have to gain a lot of strong market knowledge. So one of the things for me being in support was it taught me not only the product, I had a lot of customer contact, and for the product that I was supporting, we sold that through a partner channel. So I received a lot of knowledge about partner channel as well along the way. So you also have to understand, how is this product being sold, and be able to talk to salespeople in regards to channel programs, or sales programs, sales incentives, because as a product manager, you're going to be influencing those as well. And again, it just kind of comes back to, as I talked earlier, it's an exciting role because of all of those different divisions and different roles within the company that you get to touch on. So somebody coming out of, I've seen product managers come out of support, out of training, systems engineers. That's the person who might be the sales engineer, the systems engineer, the one that's giving the demo. That's also a great area for a product manager to come out of, because again, they're getting the customer contact, they get the sales knowledge, they've got the market knowledge and the product knowledge all wrapped up in one.
And so the way that I've described it to other people is it's kind of what versus how. And product management is really the what. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree.
And what are some of the ways, what are some of the ways that you discover the what? What have you found that's worked good for you in your career to discovering what the what is? Yeah.
Well, and that's the fun of it, is you get the discovery. So you also have to be somebody who is, and I think this is probably one of the most important character traits of a product manager, is curiosity. If you're not a curious, inquisitive person, boy, this is going to be a tough role for you, because it's not there. It's a lot of picking up rocks and seeing what's underneath this one, what's underneath this one. And what I've found for myself is it's getting out and talking to customers. Discovering the what is really being involved with them, talking with them, and it's a matter of your listening skills. So there's the curiosity. But having active listening skills is another character trait, another skill that a strong product manager is going to have, because you're asking questions. So your ability to ask good questions and to be able to pull data out of a customer is one thing, and then listening to their response, but also listening for, there can be things in tone of voice that can make you tilt your head and go, well, now, why did they say it that way? So I want to ask a question about that, because something sounded like maybe there was a bit of a challenge or a fear, and you have to be listening for those things, and then that starts to uncover the what. Now, the other part of it too is you've got to be one who likes to read, and a person who likes to read and be able to take a look at, well, what are the analysts saying? What's the market stuff? So there's a lot of things in terms of publications and business influencers and market influencers whom you need to read as well to be able to understand that what. But it's all of that coming together, and you start to go, okay, I'm taking these concentric circles and I'm bringing them closer and closer together, and it looks like this is what we need to do.
Sure. And so, as a product manager, you're going to, it would be great to work at one place forever, but you're going to jump from company to company or from product to product. In your history, what have you found has been really helpful for you to get ramped up on a new product? Maybe when you first find yourself in either that new role or a new job, and it's your time to take the reins of the product manager. I've seen some interesting versions of what people do, because a lot of times you already have a team that's in motion, they're doing this stuff, and whether it's a new position or you're replacing someone, you got to get ramped up. Yeah. What have you found has been successful for you in those situations?
Well, one of the things that has been very helpful is to actually just go out on some sales calls. sit in on the demos, hear what the prospects are asking, watch the demo. And you start to learn the product that way. You learn how the product is being positioned and messaged. And that has been very successful for me. Also then, too, again,